So welcome to IvyLearn Fundamentals. Today we're going to be talking about adding content. My name is Kathy Long. I'm the Senior Training Specialist for Ivy Tech Community College in the Center for Instructional Technology. Joining me, helping to facilitate the question box, is Dr. Kara Monroe. So feel free to ask questions at any time during the presentation. Kara will try to answer those questions, and I'll also try to answer those questions for you during the presentation as well. So today we're going to talk about a couple different things. One, we are going to learn the buttonology, the how-to. How do we add content? How do we push those buttons to make that work? And then we're also going to talk about the strategies for how we organize that content. And this is really going to be a different way of thinking as a faculty member. It's going to be a different way of trying to organize your content and add content. So when we jump in here to the live demonstration portion, which is at ivylearn.ivytech.edu, we're going to talk about some strategies and how best practices and how to organize that content. We also have two options for you to how to build your content in IvyLearn. So I've created two developmental shells here. We have the first one indicated here with a little palm tree, and this is created with our statewide template. Okay, the statewide template is based on Quality Matters. Quality Matters is a national rubric that aligns course content with the objectives, so there's that alignment piece, and it's also a rubric that dictates the best practices for student navigation. So this is a tried and true rubric that is based on Quality Matters. It's a national standard, and several of you are probably already familiar with Quality Matters. We've been a member of that organization and been using those design principles for quite a long time here in the Ivy Tech community. The other demo shell I'm going to show you here is in this with the little sunflowers. This is a blank shell. We're going to start from scratch with this. So that'll be a blank area. And really, I think I forgot to clear that out yesterday, so I apologize. I'll show you how to reset your sandbox as well, since I've forgotten to do that. Okay, so let's get in here and let's add some content. Let's go into our one with the template first. Okay, so when we go into our course with the template and we use the statewide template, we are currently in the instructor view, and you'll notice here on our course menu there's a lot of different options. Okay. The course template, it's still unpublished, and remember, publishing content is going to be a strategy that we want to make big, bold notes about in our all of our areas and our notes. We want to remember that publish means it makes it available. So every time you add any piece of content to the IvyLearn system, whether you're using the course template or you're using a blank course from scratch, you always want to make sure that you're actually publishing each individual item. So in the course template, it opens up to this home page, and these banners and these icons here are all customizable, so we can change the look of that. This is just kind of a basic principle with the links built in. Okay, so the reason why we've decided the home page should open up to the module page is because this is where students will spend the majority of their time during the semester. Okay, so the syllabus is very important. There's a link to it right here on the top of the module page, or this home page by default, where this course opens up to. The syllabus is a document that they're going to review and they're going to look at. They're going to read it fully, hopefully that first time, and they're going to refer to it several times during the course. But really, when as they get into the course rhythm, they're going to be accessing that course content area. So here we have these modules. And remember, modules is where the content is actually organized. So if you're a traditional, in a traditional classroom experience or even a hybrid section, think about it, you prepare a lesson for your students. You might carry that in a file folder, and you have all the assignments that you need. You have your lesson plan planned out. You might have handouts. And even though if you do some of that digitally, you still have an idea. You have a self-contained content plan for a specific classroom experience. And that's kind of what the modules are. They're organized pieces of content for that learning event. Modules is a new name. That's a new vocabulary word in the IvyLearn platform. This replaces class sessions. Okay, so in Blackboard there was a called class sessions. We now call those modules. When I click on a module link, it takes me right into the individual module. Okay, and you'll see that this kind of allows us to enter in information. It's prompting you to give a module overview. So this is what I'm going to do today. This is what I'm going to, these are the objectives that we're going to learn about today. And it just kind of sequentially allows you to move from slide to slide. Okay. When I'm using the template, I can click the Edit button up here on the right-hand side. Okay, so you'll see that this is currently published. I can just click it again and make it unpublished. That means I'm making this module or this module page available. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn that back on. If I'm going to edit this area, I'm going to click Edit. And now I can just place my cursor anywhere into this content box. And I can highlight it and I can enter my objective. Okay, so I can modify this content. And again, this is organizing the content in the Quality Matters format. It kind of gives you some structure as a first-time user in the IvyLearn platform that can be really helpful to you. Just like everything, anytime I add any kind of content, I'm always going to save that item. Okay. So now I've made my changes to that particular slide, and I can move on to the next slide. The modules are kind of nice and convenient because you can start adding your content here at any time. So I can add my own learning activities. So I might want to introduce a discussion board. I might want to add a quiz or an assignment. I can do that here. So I can edit this page, or if I actually click on the modules page on my course menu over here, okay, so I'm going to click on the actual modules link, it gives you an index view. Okay, so this is the index view. All right, so this is kind of an outline of my content. Right? If I want to add something to my module, every time I add anything in the IvyLearn platform, I'm going to hit this plus button. Okay? When I click that plus button, it's going to give me many different options of what kind of content I can add. Okay? So let's go ahead and click that plus button. And when I do, you'll see that I can now add an assignment, an essay, a discussion board. And when I do this, okay, so when I decide what kind of assignment I'm going to add, I use this pull-down menu. So let's go ahead and add a discussion. I already have a discussion board created called Introduce Yourself, but I can create a new discussion board right here. So I'm going to click New Topic. I'm going to give it a topic name. And then I simply click Add Item. You'll notice here that I've now added at the bottom of the page, I've added a discussion board. Because remember, this little thought bubble is the icon that we use when we discuss the discussion boards. Here's a link to that. You'll notice that it's currently not published. Okay, so there's a little black gray cloud with an X in the middle. So if I went into the student view right now, we would not see the icebreaker because it's not published. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on this link, the icebreaker link. And this opens up to my content area where I can actually create the discussion board question. To do that, I click on the Edit button. Again, we're going to open up to that content editor. I've entered in that information. I've put in a great question for my students. Okay, you want to select Allow Threaded Replies. This is what allows the student to interact with the discussion board and to actually post a response. This next feature, users must post before seeing replies. This is awesome. This is really great. This allows students, typically in a discussion board, and these can be used in a traditional environment, a hybrid environment, or very typical usage in our online courses. We want the discussion to be interactive. So even in a traditional classroom, we have very shy people who don't want to speak up. We also have the very talkative people. A discussion board allows you to carry on the conversation outside of the classroom. So you might want to post a discussion board, maybe present a case study, and you want students to see both sides of that. The fire science department, for example, used to have a website which featured fires and alarms, and they would pose questions on how would you handle it if you had a fire department that's only works on volunteers. How do you coordinate? And it's a great way to discuss, and it's, of course, a very hands-on program, but the discussion board was used in a traditional classroom to get everyone involved and really do some critical thinking skills. To do that, the users must post before seeing replies. It allows that the instructor to force the students to post an original thought. They respond back to that question before they can see what anybody else is saying. So sometimes in a discussion board, faculty have reported back that students will read other people's posts and then try to modify that or model their answer based on what they think the answer is based on other student responses. This allows students to make sure that they're posting an original thought before they can see what their coworkers and their peers are saying. So kind of a new fun feature for discussion boards. You can enable a podcast. When we click Graded, this engages the Grade Center. This makes it a graded topic. And you can also allow liking. So if you use a Facebook application, for example, thumbs up, thumbs down, that's what allow liking means. Okay. I give it a points possible. I can tell the Grade Center how I want it to display. And here's an assignment group. And this becomes very important. So when you have the opportunity to make assignment groups, this is a new strategy, a new way of thinking about how we add content and how we label it. These assignment groups or these categories correspond with the Grade Center. So for example, when I put my syllabus together, I'm going to say I have my grades are based on 4 essays, 4 discussion boards, 1 research paper. Okay, so I want to make sure that I'm giving this nice categories to help me stay organized with my content. So this is a discussion board, and I want to make sure that I have this under my discussion board content. Okay. I can also require peer reviews. So I know that our English faculty, for example, use a lot of peer reviews. This is how you would engage that. I can assign this discussion board to everyone, or I can assign it to individuals. It's asking you for a due date, and I highly recommend, I'm encouraging you, I'm insisting, write this in big bold print, that you really use this calendaring system. Everything in IvyLearn is based on good calendaring, good due dates. This is what drives that dashboard page. When you log into the dashboard for the first time and you see that to-do list on our sidebar content, it gives the student a global idea of all the assignments that are due, and it's done in a chronological order. This is how we feed the calendaring system. Okay, and we'll take a look at both those areas. Kind of want to visually really make that important to you, why these calendaring dates are so important. So I'm going to pick a date. I'm going to say this is for my summer course. So I'm going to go ahead and select, I can't see with that little thing in there. There we go, June. I've already done some May dates, so I'm going to say this is due, actually I'll make this due May 21st. Okay, and I can even give it a time of day. I can save and publish, which means I'm going to save it and it becomes available on the calendar. It becomes available to be viewable by students, or I can just save it as a placeholder. I always recommend it, save and publish, just so you don't forget. But it's, if you're building content, you don't have to make that published right at the beginning. I now have created my discussion board, and it's built right into my module as well. This is kind of an idea of the course content using the statewide template. The other thing that the statewide template is going to do for you is the syllabus area. So let's talk about the syllabus for just a moment. When I click on the syllabus link on my course menu, the syllabus is two different things here. The syllabus is both a content area and an actual tool. It has functionality. Okay? So at the top, we have all this great information that's built on quality matters, standards. Here's my instructors, my instructor information, my supervisor information, this help desk support, especially as we transition over to this new LMS. This is going to be very important to provide for our students, so I highly recommend just going ahead and using the template and leaving that here. This template has our online technology support as well. Those folks help all faculty and all students. It does not have to be online related, so they're great folks to know in your regions. Here's the information to the disability support services, and then here's the area that we would update with our textbook information. Okay, so not only are we going to give our students what information they need for the class, but here's a link to the actual online bookstore. So we're making it as convenient as possible for the students just to click and get their books that they need to be successful. You'll also see here's a placeholder for you to enter in your curriculum of record, so all of those course objectives. Here's a link to the college policies. This is, copyright, academic honesty statements. That's what that links out to. Okay. Course policies. Okay. Some different areas to fill in. Okay. So at the bottom of this, so this is all the syllabus information. This is where the syllabus functionality comes in. This is the tool feature. This is the course summary. The course summary, based on your due dates and the assignments that you've created in your class, show up here. So students can see a whole list of all the assignments in the course. It's automatically populated for you as you create the content. So you'll see that I have this essay is due March 10th. Is due by 11:59 p.m. Here I have some items that are due on the 21st. So when I click on any one of these areas, okay, I can click on that link as a student, and I can go directly to that assignment. So I have several different ways as a student, then I can go directly to my content. So when we did that LMS tour and we surveyed our faculty, we surveyed our students, the number one thing that people complained about was how many clicks it took to get to the content. We've made that very simple in this platform. They can access it directly from that dashboard page. When we look at the sidebar and those due dates, we can access these assignments through our calendaring system, and we can access it directly through the module or on the course menu, and we can also access those assignments right through our syllabus document as well. So pretty powerful stuff, lots of ways for students to find that content. Okay, and because there's so many different places where our students can find that, you really want to think about how you're building that course. The nice thing about it is you build it once and it populates all those areas for you. Okay, so one piece of content going in, and it comes available to you in multiple different areas based on student learning needs and personal preference. So kind of a powerful and fun new way to look about how we share content with our students. Okay. All right, this is the syllabus document. Again, I really like the course template because all of those course policies are already built in. I know several of you have addendums that you like to have added from your regions. You can use this syllabus document, and when you click Edit, you can place your cursor anywhere in this document, and you can add your addendum. Okay. Once I've made my change, I click Update Syllabus. Shari has a great question. Is 11:59 the time that assignments will be automatic? If I don't put in a specific time, then it defaults to 11:59 p.m. Shari says you can also copy and paste from Word easily. I want to talk to you a little bit about that cut and pasting kind of thing. I'm going to go into the other demo shell really quickly while we talk about cutting and pasting information. So when you cut and paste information, I absolutely do not recommend cutting and pasting from the Blackboard environment. There's a lot of junk and there's a lot of hidden HTML coding in there, and the formatting is really bad as well. Don't pay attention to the woman behind the curtain here. I'm going to reset this course so it's a blank course as we continue to discuss cutting and pasting options. The other thing too that I want to point out to you is when you do cut and paste, it also can mess up the formatting that we're trying to maintain for our accessibility readers. So for example, I want to go into, I'm going to create a page first. So right now, when I go to the home page, there's nothing here. I've now got a blank shell. If you don't choose to use the course template, this is what you get. This is the first thing you'll see. It's just a lot of blank information. There's a lot of every single tool is kind of available here on the menu, which can be overwhelming, so you need to spend a little time tweaking that on what you want students to see and what you don't. So for example, when I go to, I'm going to start on a difficult one, a page, and you'll see this is grayed out. A page is where we can add content, okay? A page, if you think about it, it's kind of the equivalent to a Blackboard item. So pages are where you can put content and educational resources that are part of your course, but they are not necessarily part of an assignment. So when we looked at that course overview, that was a page. So that was information about that page and about giving you kind of instructions, but it wasn't assigned to a discussion board or an essay or a quiz. Okay, so pages are information. You can add text, videos, links to files, and you can make them links to even other pages. Okay, so there's a lot of content here. But when I create a page, and I'm going to go ahead and create my page section here. I go over here up to the right-hand side, and anytime I create any new kind of new content that's not something that I'm editing, you'll see this little plus button. So add page, add announcement, add discussion. You kind of get the rhythm of that. So I click this plus page or add page, and this gives me the content, a content editor. I want to give my page a name. Okay. And then I'm going to place my cursor here in the content editor. And this gets back to the cutting and pasting. I know it's a time saver. I just want to caution you that, junk in goes junk out, and this is a chance for a free and new start without taking a lot of that old stuff with us. But the most important thing here is that IvyLearn platform is very accessible. They've made it very mobile friendly. They've made it very friendly to work with screen readers. So when I'm creating content, for example, I want to use this little pull down menu here. This is called the paragraph. This also allows me to set up my headers. I recommend you use this tool. Okay, and tomorrow Function Junction, our short task-oriented webinar features, it's all about how to use the content editor, and this is something that Kara will discuss with you as well. But I want to give it a header, and this is really what screen readers look at. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about my course objectives, or whatever my content area. So I give that a header. When I click enter, you'll notice that that changed to paragraph. So what I'm doing is I'm using the default font size and font style, and also making it as accessible as possible for my students. So I can even do, bullet points here. Okay. But allowing me to go ahead and just use this formatting is really best for accessibility features. Worst case scenario, copy and paste from a Word document, but please don't copy and paste from the Blackboard environment. Okay. When I create a content page, I can make it, I can also allow it to be edited by teachers and students. This is what turns a content page into a wiki. So that wiki tool in Blackboard, this is how you use this as a wiki. And when you say edit by teachers and students, it allows students to contribute to this content page as well. And remember what we said, we can save and publish, or we can save this document. Save and publish means we're making that available to our students. Okay. So I've just created a content page. I want to go up to the announcement tool because we haven't talked about that or demonstrated that. When I click on announcements, again, here I have this opportunity to add announcement. When I click add announcement, okay, I now give it a topic title. I enter in my message. Okay, so what I've done, I've asked a question. I'm using this announcement page in a different way. So in addition to posting content about the upcoming field trip, or this assignment is due, or this is what we're studying this week, I can also use this to post questions to my students, because in the IvyLearn platform, the announcements are interactive. Students can respond back to the announcements. So I've posted this announcement. I'm available to meet. I've called this my midterm study session. I'm available to meet on Monday at 9, Friday at 5, or Saturday at 12. What dates work for you? Okay. When I go down here to set my options, I can add an attachment. I can delay the posting, which just when I click that, it gives me a date. I want this to post on such and such date, so I can chunk out my information as needed throughout the semester. I can actually say users must post before seeing replies. So that's the same thing we had in that discussion board. Before students can respond back to this, they have to respond first before they can look at other people's posts. In this particular case, I don't need that engaged. I can enable a podcast feed, and I can also allow that liking feature, so a thumbs up, thumbs down. When I click Save, okay, my announcement now becomes interactive. So I've asked my students, this is when I'm available to do some midterm study sessions. What are good for you? And then my student can click this reply button. Whoops, sorry, clicked the wrong button there. And students can reply back. And they click post reply. So now my announcement is very interactive. Okay. And again, to add an announcement, this is a navigational toolbar up here. This is called our breadcrumb trail. I'm currently in my announcement, but if I wanted to go back to a page, I click announcements. Okay. So here's my first announcement. If I want to add another announcement, I just click again, that plus, that add announcement. Okay. And that's going to be a typical structure. Let's take a look at what the syllabus document looks like when you don't use that template. When I click on my syllabus document, you'll see I have my course syllabus area. There's a placeholder for it, and I have this course summary. So there's no details here. One, because I haven't necessarily created any assignments, and two, I haven't added any of my course syllabus documentation. To do so, I have to click Edit. So this is the content area, and then I would need to type my syllabus information in here. Which is fine, and this is just about your work preference. Okay, once I've done that, I click Update Syllabus. Okay, so this would be a long area here, and then I would have, once I started creating assignments, my assignments will start populating automatically down here. Okay. All right, so I have two ways that I can do this. I can build out individual modules, or I can actually build out individual content areas, or I can build the module one at a time. So let's say that I'm going to recreate my IvyYC 110, which is the Online Faculty Certification Program. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on my modules link. And I know that I have 5 modules in the current course, and I still want to kind of model that after that. So I'm going to click plus module. So this is how I add a plus module. Okay, I'm going to give it a module name. Okay. I can also lock it. I can set a date. But since this is my first module, I'm going to leave that open, and I click Add Module. Okay, you now see that I have a module located here. I can click plus module again because I know my second module is creating course content. Now I have, since this is my second module, I now have this add prerequisite. This is kind of like an adaptive release rule. So since I'm creating a training course, I'm going to click Add Prereq. And what I do is I'm going to select, I want my students to complete Module 1 before they can get access to Module 2. I click Add Module. Okay, I now have 2 modules available. I'm going to click plus module again. Again, I'm going to create my next module. Okay, so what I've done, I'm going to add that prereq again. So I click Add Prereq, and I'm going to select, I want you to complete Module 1, add prerequisite. I'm going to select Complete Module 2 before you can ever get to Module 3. So I'm going to click Add Module. And what I've done is I've started to organize my content. So if you think about any time you give a good speech or you're even preparing for your class, you typically have an outline form. And this is kind of what I'm doing. I'm kind of creating my structure. These are my placeholders. This is the kind of content that I want to make available in my course. Okay, so I now have my modules created. Within each module, you'll notice here that I have a little plus sign. Okay, so when I click plus, okay, I can now add my next content area. So if I want to build this by module, piece by piece, I can say, okay, in Module 1, I know I need to create an overview. I want to tell them what I can find in this module. So I would use my pull-down menu, and I would create, anyone want to take a guess? If I'm creating an item that's not associated with, it's just informational, and it's not an assignment. Anyone want to guess? Anybody want to guess? We're going to create a page. Okay. All right, so create page. I'm going to call it a new page. So I'm going to create a new item. I'm going to call it my module overview. And I add that item. Okay, so now you see that I have my Getting Started module. I have my module overview. Okay, and now I can go ahead. I can either edit my module overview by clicking that. I click Edit. Whoops. I place my, I'm going to use my paragraph and headers here. So I build that page. I come down here to the bottom, and again, I can save and publish, or I can just save. And I'm going to go ahead and save and publish, even though I haven't completed my content yet. Okay. So now I'm building out that module page by page, assignment by assignment. This is your option. This is the things you need to think about when you're building and adding content. Adding content is very simple. How you organize yourself to create that content is really going to come down to your style preference. So we have that statewide template that allows you kind of an infrastructure that you can build around, or you can start from scratch and build like we're doing today. All right, so that's, let me go back again. I'm going to go back into my modules because right now it'll show you that I'm creating a page, so I'm in the Pages section. When you view all pages, I want to show you the Pages button is only viewable to you as an instructor currently. We try to keep this button hidden from our students. And the reason why is because every page, every item, every piece of content that you add to your course becomes this long, 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 long list. Okay? It's kind of a long index view, which can be hard to navigate and hard for students to recognize. So it's nice to know where this content is if you need to update it or change it or even publish it if you forget to publish it here. Okay? But you want to make sure that it's really not viewable to students because it's not very good for them to try to navigate this content or scroll through to find the courses that they need. It's better to organize that in those modules. Okay, so no matter if you're using your own from scratch or you're using the template, you're always going to use modules for that content area. All right, so we know, here's our syllabus. We've looked at that for just a minute. And remember, you know, every faculty, regardless of the modality that they're teaching in, there's several pieces of content that we want to make sure that we're providing for our students. Number one, we want to make sure that your contact information is there. Okay, so we're doing that in two different ways in IvyLearn. We're going to add our contact information under our personal account. That's not the easiest way for students to be able to locate us through that profile that we've established, but we also want to provide our contact information here within our course. So where are we going to do that if we don't use that statewide template? Okay, you would have to create a page for that as well, and you have to make that available somewhere that's easy to go. So in your syllabus document, for example, you still probably want to add that contact information. Okay, so don't forget that. That's one of those requirements. You want to make sure that you are providing a full syllabus. That's kind of the contract between you and the student on what they can expect to learn. There are regulations around that I'm sure as a faculty member you're already familiar with. That course template is also based on those college policies and requirements for our syllabus documentation. Okay. Let's see. In a course like this, too, I've been building out my module, but I can also build out, so I'm going to say in my course I'm going to have 5 discussions. I can go to my discussion board question, or I can create it directly in the module, how I just created that page. When I go to discussions, again, plus discussion, I give it a topic title. Okay, I set up my reply, and we've already kind of went through this feature before, so we know that we want to select allow threaded replies so students can respond. We want them to post an original post before they can see what their peers are saying. We're going to make it a graded forum. I'm going to continue to make this a 20-point question. I'm going to make it display as points. I have multiple choices here. Now you'll notice that since I'm starting from scratch, The only assignment group by default I have is called assignments. And remember, we want to try to categorize our courses because this also is how it displays in the gradebook. Okay, so I'm going to add a new assignment group. I'm going to call this, click New Group, and I'm going to name that Discussion Boards. And then I click Add Group. Okay, so now I know what type of assignment this is. I've put it in a category. I can continue to set a due date. I can also make this item available from I can set a specific date range for this is when it's available. Okay, and then I can save and publish or just save. Remember, when you save and publish, you publish it. It also makes it available on our calendar over here, and it also makes that information available on our dashboard. Okay, so I want to save and publish. If I want to continue to build out all my discussion boards in one area, I can click Discussions again. Just like I was doing, I was creating those placeholders for my modules. I can go through here and create all of my discussions that I use in my particular course. And again, plus discussion, and just follow those prompts and those steps. And remember to publish. Okay. Now, I've created my discussion board outside of my module. So if I go back into my modules, okay, I want my discussion board to be placed here in Module 1. Okay, so I want to, how am I going to edit my module? I'm going to click this plus button over here. Remember that. All right, now I want to add a discussion. You'll see that under the discussion board category, I've already created my Module 1 introduction. So I've just already created that content. I select that and add item. Okay, you'll now see that it's in my module. The other thing you'll notice is when it's published, the little thought bubble, the little icon for discussions is highlighted in green. If I click that off and I unpublish it, you notice that that's a dark blue, almost black color. Okay. Right. So let's see what this looks like from the student perspective. Okay, so to see the student view, and this is really your best friend. As a first-time instructor in the IvyLearn platform, the student view is going to help you. Okay, so you want to see what the student is going to see. So on my course menu here, I go down to Settings. It's the last option. Okay. And in my sidebar area over here on the right-hand side of the page, you'll see the student view. When I click Student View, okay, you'll get this kind of really bright pink-purple color that comes across the bottom of the page, and it says lets you know that you're in Student View. Okay, so wait, I'm a student. We've been working on those modules, but look, modules is missing. What do you think happened? Anybody want to take a guess on why I'm not seeing my modules over here on the left-hand side on the course menu in the student view? Steve Mitchell and Barbara Burton come in with the win. They're not published. That's right. We forgot to publish it. Stephen came in as well with the not published. Good job, you guys. It's exactly right. This is why that student view becomes so important. You want to be, as a first-time user, checking this information out. So, okay, I'm going to leave my student view. I'm going to go back into my modules area, and you'll notice too it's grayed out, so that means it's not viewable to students. So when I click this modules button again, and you'll see my module items are published, but my module is not. Okay? So when we're publishing content, when we're making it available, it happens in multiple ways. So you are going to make sure that you've published the item or assignment, okay, or the content area. This is what we've done here with the module overview and the introduction discussion board. You also have to publish the entire module. So let's go ahead and make that available. I'm going to publish module 2, I'm going to publish Module 3. And now they're happy green clouds instead of dark, stormy clouds, okay? And it has a check mark there. All right, now when I go into my student view, and again, that's under settings on my course menu, and I'm going to go over here to my student view in the sidebar, and we see our nice bright purple color across the bottom of the page. And now on my menu, I see modules. So let's click modules. Okay. And you'll see that I have a module, and this is the index view. So I see here's my module overview, and here's my introduction. It has a due date, and it tells me how many points. Okay. To get into the module, this is a view that the students will have as well. You can click the module, the module overview page. And you'll see it takes you into that slide presentation. So here is my overview. I'd be reading that, the content that I posted here, which is a page. I click on Next. Here's the discussion board that I've created, and the student can go ahead and participate in this. If I had additional content here, I could click the Next button, and it would take me to my next content area. Okay. Now, the nice thing about this is if you ever doubt what kind of content you're actually taking, you know we're working in modules. But when you click from slide to slide, so I'm going to click this previous button. Let's watch what happens. Okay. I've actually created a page. This is a content page, so it tells me exactly what content area I'm in. So that's a nice correspondence, especially when we're learning IvyLearn for the first time. What kind of content did I create? Oh, this is a page. Oh, that's a discussion board. Okay. So I want to show you a couple other things when we're creating a module. So I'm going to exit out of my student view. I'm going to go back into my modules area. Okay. And like I said, I can build this module by module, or I can do it by content area. So we demonstrated how we can create all of our discussion boards at once. We've talked about how we can create all of our announcements, and we can set dates for that. But we can also do this, build one module at a time. So to add any content to our module, again, we're going to click this little plus button beside the module name. Okay. I can add a new assignment. So from this pull-down menu, I can create an assignment. So let's go ahead and demonstrate what that is. An assignment is more like a research project, a written word, someone's turning in an Excel spreadsheet, someone's going to turn in any kind of written documentation, any kind of a file attachment. So I'm going to create a new assignment, and I'm going to call it essays. I'm going to click Add Item. Okay, so you now notice it's dark blue or dark color. It's not published. And right now it's just a name. So when I click on the link to that actual assignment, I'm going to enter in my content information. I click Edit. Okay, so I'm going to enter my instructions for my assignment. I'm going to give it a points. So I want to make sure that this is a big essay, so we're going to give this 50 points. I'm going to give it an assignment group. Now I can leave it under it's just an assignment, or I can create a new group. So I'm going to say maybe I'm going to have 3 essays during the project or during the. So I'm going to create a group for that. I'll just add group. Okay. I give it my points to display. I want to show it as points in the Grade Center. Okay, I can now, when it's an assignment, I can select the submission type. So you'll see no submission. And when I use that term, no submission, it means that I'm not expecting them to turn in this assignment in IvyLearn. Okay, so maybe they're going to meet me in a hybrid section, and maybe what I want to see from them is they've been creating a new tool in our machine tool shop, and I want them to bring that up to me, or their blueprints, and I want to see that in the classroom so we can discuss it. So this just means it's a placeholder where I can enter grades, but I don't necessarily want them to submit anything electronically. Okay, so that's what no submission means. I can click online. And this gives me options. Students can turn in this assignment using text. They can turn in a website. So for example, if I'm working in my web design course and I've created a new web page, I can submit that as my website URL, so it's easy for those instructors to view the student work. I can also submit a media recording. So we know we have some video production classes. They might want to, or multimedia. They could respond back by posting that particular type of content. And I can also upload a file. And you just select that by clicking the little checkbox. I can also select on paper. And what that means is we have in our classrooms, we have a lot of our faculty who don't have computers in their classroom. So in a traditional setting, not everyone might be able to take their test online, for example. But we do, as instructors, we're required, the college asks us to maintain all of our grades in our learning management system, Grade Center. So we want to make sure that we're using this Grade Center appropriately, and we're posting all the grades in our IvyLearn platform. So if you're going to pass out a paper test to your students, you're going to manually grade that, you can select the submission is going to be turned in on paper. And again, what that allows is for the Grade Center to create a placeholder for that, so you can enter those grades. It creates a Grade Center column, but it doesn't require you to submit anything in the online environment. Okay, we can see we require peer reviews. Again, we can assign this to everyone or individuals. We give it a due date. Okay, and I can again make this assignment available for specific dates. So if I only want this assignment to be available for a week, I can do that. And then I'm going to click Save and Publish. Okay. All right, so I've created my assignment. Now let's see how that displays. So when I go into the Grade Center, okay, you'll now see that I have placeholders for all of the assignments that I've created here. So here's my Module 1, here's my categories I can use, and this is how I can organize my content as well. So this all influences the Grade Center. When I go into the calendar area, okay, and I know I added something on the 17th, I thought, for this particular course. And let's see which class I have engaged here. I want to have my sandbox shell turned on. Okay, and you'll see I just added that essay to my calendar, so this is what students see. What I've done is I've just deselected all the other courses I'm in, and I'm only looking at the sandbox shell that we're looking at right now. So you'll see that from a student perspective, this is available, and this is what course it's in, and it also tells me what the assignment is. If I go into, I know I've also got some items in May for this particular class. And here it is. There's my Module 1 introduction that's due. I can click on that as a student. I can get more information, and then I can also click the name of that discussion board and go directly into the discussion board from the calendar. So again, one point of creation for the content, multiple ways that the student can access that based on their learning style and their personal preference. All of this, all those dates, the reason why we're going to do that is because here on the dashboard, when we look at the global view, okay, so the dashboard by default is where all of our classes open up to, okay, and you'll see all the courses that you're enrolled in. And then over here on the right-hand side, these are all my assignments that are due in all of my classes, and they're based on chronological order. I can also go directly into my calendar. And there's a list of all the calendars that I'm enrolled in. Okay. So a lot of information. Now you'll notice right now when we started this demonstration, we had two course cards here. One, this is my statewide template demo, so we looked at what that looks like. And then I had another course card over here to the right that was my sandbox that we've been working in. And you might say, what happened to it? Why isn't it on the dashboard anymore? Well, while we were chatting today, I reset that whole course and kind of blew up my course so we could start from scratch again. When you do that, it doesn't disappear from the system. It just disappears from this dashboard view. So what I need to do is I click on this courses link, and this is on my global navigation menu. So when I click on courses, I select all courses, and this is how I can customize my dashboard view. So I'm enrolled in several courses, and because I want to do this demonstration today, I don't want to be overwhelmed with all the other content. I'm now going to turn back on my sandbox shell. Okay, by just clicking the little star, you'll see it populates with a color. And now when I go to dashboard, my shell comes back up. Those sandbox shells are designed for this kind of stuff. So go in there and practice. Try building content, see what makes sense to you. You can always reset it, blow it up, and when it disappears from your dashboard, you can bring it back by clicking on the Courses button and select all courses. Okay. Wow, so we have really talked about a lot of information today. Again, the things I want you to remember, make sure you're publishing your items, publishing your content. Make sure that you are putting due dates on all of your assignments, and just remember, too, when I click on my calendar, I can drag and drop. So even if I'm like, you know what, I don't really want this essay to be due on March 24th. I want it to be due on March 31st. I can just drag and drop, okay, and it automatically changes the date through all of my IvyLearn locations. So it's just that simple. I can also click on it, okay, and then it gives me the instructions. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back into that assignment from right there, and I can also change the dates here. I can also go into the individual course and set those dates. So there's lots of different ways that you can update that information as an instructor, but it does nicely communicate through all of the areas in the course. So very easy to use. So even if you're building those dates, don't worry, they're pretty easy to customize if it's not the exact dates you want during the semester. Okay. I want to thank you for your time today. Kara and I will be glad to stay on the line and answer any questions that you might have, but we do appreciate your time. We do have a list of all of these previously recorded video sessions on our IvyLearn statewide training page, so you're welcome to visit that. And we also have new content coming back for you after the spring break, so I hope you enjoy that.